The man made a gesture signaling a code. The pitcher was stunned because this code meant a fastball, which was the pitch the opposing batter was most comfortable with. But the catcher wasn't worried at all. They had changed the code system. This meant that the same gesture could have different meanings depending on the system. However, what they didn't expect was that the blue team's batter hit the ball out of the park. The opponent's dugout erupted in excitement. How did they know that they had just changed the code system? Takuchi had the coach switch to mode 2, but the next batter still figured it out. After thinking for a moment, Takuchi realized that their current code system had been cracked, so he upgraded it again. Now, every time they pitched a ball, they would switch to a new code system, and different pitches corresponded to different code modes. A strike would mean mode 1, 2 strikes would mean mode 2, and no strikes would mean mode 3. But when the next pitcher from the opposing team came in, the result was the same. The blue team's batter perfectly adjusted to the pitch type again. Clearly, they had cracked the code once more. Takuchi explained that their tactics had been completely overheard. They had tried so many variations of the code system, it was impossible that there was a flaw. But the consequences of having a listening device were serious. It had to be placed in a very secretive spot. Takuchi's team began searching carefully, but they couldn't find anything in the short time they had. Takuchi then reasoned that the listening device had to be near the coach, who was responsible for relaying the tactical instructions. So, Takuchi had the coach move to a different location, but it still didn't work. Now, Takuchi was deeply confused. He had always been the one to trick others, and no one had ever outsmarted him. But now, he had finally met an opponent who could. Suddenly, Takuchi had an idea. He finally figured out how the opponent was eavesdropping. Takuchi stormed out of the dugout and kicked over a basket of practice balls. The ball boys, seeing this, hurried to pick them up. But Takuchi quickly gathered his team and made new tactical adjustments. Turned out their team had been bugged, but kicking over the basket was his way of making the opponent doubt it would stop the eavesdropping. His teammates were puzzled, but they had no other options. They were growing more and more confused, and the coach had no idea what was going on. Now, they were all relying on Takuchi. The game continued. The catcher signaled a code, the pitcher threw, and the batter missed the first ball. The next two pitches were the same, and the blue team's batter was struck out with 3 pitches. At that moment, Takuchi's teammates were stunned. How had kicking over a basket of balls stopped the opponent from cracking the code? Takuchi then explained. They had been wrong all along. There weren't multiple listening devices in the dugout. There was only one, and it was indeed near the coach. But this time the coach hadn't moved, and no eavesdropping had occurred. The reason was that Takuchi had moved the listening device. His teammates were shocked. They realized there was a spy on the team. The listening device had been hidden in the ball boy standing next to the coach, always near the coach. Whenever they changed tactics and codes, the ball boy would come over pretending to work, which was why the blue team knew everything about them. Kicking over the basket of balls was Takuchi's way of making them believe that nothing was wrong. This was also why the blue team had such a high home game winning percentage. After explaining, Takuchi laid out a new strategy, which was overheard clearly by a man in the blue team's dugout. He was the brother of the blue team's coach.